Hey, what's up, guys? This week's episode of the Mill Spill is about fear, how we see it in everyday treatment, how I see it in the clinic, and I'm just going to take you through my thoughts on how fear plays a part in our treatment, in healing, in perception, and all that kind of stuff. So, first to start off, uh, fear-based therapy is something that I've experienced in my career plenty of times. So there's two types of fear, in my opinion. When a patient comes into therapy, uh, and the first one has to do with the fear of my therapist is going to hurt me. Physical therapy means I have to have pain. Physical therapy means I have to go through pain in order to get benefit. So there's this initial perception that physical therapy has to hurt, and that is false. And like I've said before, to help patients get through that fear barrier in that aspect, I think it's an understanding of what how your therapist interprets what's going on and describes to you what is normal. And one of the big things that I think is always telling a patient that they should feel better leaving therapy than coming in. And if they're not, then that's on the therapist. That's on us to figure that out. So that's the first one, and I think that one's the most common that we see. But one that I've encountered a little bit more recently um, is we have now instilled in patients who come to us a fear of not coming to therapy. So this is the understanding or what I've seen where as therapists we tell you, well, if you don't come in, here's what's going to happen. Or we create this reliance on us that is unhealthy because now we've crippled a patient from being independent with their activity, with what they're doing on a daily basis, and made them feel like they need to be dependent. And for a lot of patients, this may be what they're seeking initially, but our job as therapists needs to be promoting an independent, thought-provoking lifestyle. And by thought-provoking, I mean maybe this is a patient who has to think about, is this a good activity for me to do? And the only way they know that is from being educated by their therapist. So, and I think a lot of this type of fear that we instill in our patients has led to overuse of physical therapy, lack of discharging, and it's also created this whole healthcare model where patients have limited visits to come to therapy, and it hurts the field when therapists don't understand the proper healing times and what is normal. And when we don't understand that, that's when we kind of go and say, well, if you don't see me, it means you need to rely on me. And I like people and I like patients, but I don't want to see them forever. That does no good for me. That does no good for the patient. It's great if you want to build happy hour, social hour physical therapy, and that happens. And people tend to like that, but it creates now I'm afraid what happens if I don't see you? Am I going to ruin something? No, no. And I just have a problem with looking at therapy that way. And it comes down to, I think, the lack of understanding. So therapists need to invest in themselves and their education to help patients and help themselves with the right way to educate and the right way to explain and the right way to make a patient understand that it's not a room full, their life isn't a room full of closed doors. They need to be able to open those doors and venture out and start living their life again, and a life that doesn't involve therapy. So I think that that's one aspect from that corner of fear based treatment, and the other one is um, telling people diagnostically what their medical diagnosis is. And this is a major problem because people in general will cling to that diagnosis as to how it defines them. So we get people who come in all the time, and I mean, and this happens from any healthcare professional, but it cannot happen from the physical therapist standpoint, where you're telling him things like, you know, yes, you have a bulging disc or you have a herniated disc. That's a medical diagnosis that if they don't fit a certain set of symptoms, that you shouldn't even be mentioning that because of the negative connotation and the fear that that brings a person. Because now they will you know, associate themselves with this structural terrible thing that you hear all about. I have a slip disc, or you know, I am fibromyalgia, or I am chronic pain, and that only builds fear when you start diagnosing at a medical level with patients. And that fear then turns into, well, if you're telling me that, I can't live without you. So we have to break that mold of understanding. And it comes down to what can we treat? What are we best at treating? What are we best at educating? And then go and tell your patients that. Um, and that way you can foster a good relationship where there is give and take and not all give. Because if it's not, that leads to therapist burnout. And burnout is one of the biggest thing I've seen with new grads and PTs that have been in the field less than 10 years. I've been working 13, 14 years now, and there's zero burnout. I love what I'm doing, and it's because of the education that I've gotten, and because I've found that educating people the right way is fulfilling to me. And that is, people aren't problems, people are puzzles, and puzzles are fun to solve, y'all. And I don't know about you, but as a PT, that's what I look forward to every day, is solving problems and puzzles, um, all while keeping the end goal that that patient needs to be independent and doing things free of pain and free of movement restriction and all that fun stuff, without having to rely on me. And I love when a patient comes and tells me, Aaron, I just went out and rode 10 miles without pain. And I didn't even tell them to do that. They just did it because they felt like they could. That's a great thing. And that's what we want to hear more of. And I love it when patients come and say, Aaron, I think I'm done with you. And they end things with me. And it's cool. It's all good. So just keep those things in mind going forward, and in relationship to fear and how you want your treatment sessions to go. If you want lifelong patients, then instill fear in them, and they'll keep coming, and they'll keep coming back, and you'll be treating the revolving door. But if you want to be truly appreciated, get them well, get them out the door, and get them active. So just a couple thoughts. Hope you guys like it. Thanks. See you next time. And look for my article on fear not, your therapist is here. I think it's a pretty cool take on this as well. And let me know your thoughts. Thanks. Bye, guys.